Hmm. Hmm. This is a tough episode to review. I thought it was the best paced episode of the series. However, I found it the least consequential and therefore the least captivating. So let's just work our way through the episode and I'll give you my thoughts. At the start, I thought it was interesting showing the parallels between Obi Wan and Vader in their respective bacta tanks. I thought that was interesting, but I wasn't really sure what the show was trying to say because of it. I mean, Obi-Wan got out of there pretty quickly. He only spent a few seconds in there, and it was just kind of forgotten, and they were moving on, and the rest of the episode's plot got underway, which was good. It sort of kick-started the plot of the episode nicely with this classic round table scene with Obi-Wan and Tala and the rest of the I guess you would call them rebels, but people part of the path sort of journey that they're on, or the mission. And I had that classic round table scene where people discuss the mission of the episode, and someone says, "I have to go," and then someone else says, "You can't, it's impossible," and then that first person says, "But I have to," and then the other person says, "Well, I'm coming with you then." And it got the episode off to a cracking start. I thought, I like this. I like where this is heading. Then when Wade said the term Fortress Inquisitorius, I thought that he was making a joke with a really deadpan delivery, giving it a quippy nickname or something. But it turns out that's the actual name of the place. Fortress Inquisitorius. Yeah, I thought that was really weird. But I liked Tala and Obi-Wan sort of skulking around the facility, communicating with each other via their little handheld things. It looks like a little bloody toothpaste tube or something. That was nicely done. And there was a nice callback to the Phantom Menace as well, with Obi-Wan and that underwater breathing apparatus. And I thought Indira Varma was really good in her scene at the checkpoint where she gets questioned by that the other officer in the black uniform. So he's of a lower level, I think. She took command in that episode, in that scene, really well. Then in the next scene, when she gave another guy who questioned her a real beating, you knew she wasn't messing around. Though when she did beat that guy up, I wasn't sure if she meant for the other people around them on the other desks to have noticed that and for them to be intimidated by her because of that, or if she was actually trying to covertly put that guy out of commission and hide his body. Because if it was the latter, then that was a really terrible hiding spot, and I'm surprised that no one later in the episode came across the body and raised the alarm. Now, the scenes between Reva and Leia were really good. Their chemistry and their banter was very fun to watch. Again, there were little hints at what Reva's past was. And it suggests, again, that she was a Padawan, but I didn't feel like those scenes dove deeply enough into her backstory to really flesh it out and make it really clear to the audience and get a clear picture of where she came from as a character and what could be motivating her in her current state. Now, taking out the recap of the previous episode from the beginning of this episode and the 5 or 6 minutes of credits that they have at the end, this episode I'm not even sure was 30 minutes long, and if it was barely 30 minutes. And so I think not having it as a 40 or 45 minute episode really took away from the potential that these interrogation scenes had in particular. And to be honest, I mean, they could have made the fortress itself a bit harder to penetrate, because it seemed pretty easy to get in and even sort of explore around, even with those little sentry droids that they had. Now, Vivian Lyra Blair, who plays Leia, was, I think, at her best in the entire series in this episode. When you think about it, she does a really great Carrie Fisher impersonation. The edge she gives this character as a 10-year-old makes the transition from this character to the Leia that we see in A New Hope just really seamless. It really, really great stuff. And I have to admit, I thought that there was a moment when she was getting sucked in by Reva's manipulation, and that she might give up the location of the path, or the rebels who are working with the path. But then when she said, "Oh, I should tell my father this first," really, I thought, you bloody genius, you played her like a book. And of course, Reva was having none of it, and she stormed out. And we saw Obi-Wan use his Force powers in this episode the most that we have this entire series, and he's really starting to get his groove back. I think he's priming himself for that big showdown with Vader in Episode 6, which I'm assuming will happen, and it's getting to a nice little sweet spot, I think. And I'm guessing that when he diverted the stormtroopers' attention with the little finger wagging thing, that it was a forced push maneuver to knock something over on the other side of that door that they went through. I've seen some discussion online that people thought it was a Jedi mind trick, but I thought I heard something topple over on the other side of that door, so that's why I assume it's a forced push. And sort of with that, like that sort of motion lends itself, I think, more to a force push maneuver, because the mind trick, isn't it like a little finger wave thing, like these are not the droids you're looking for, kind of thing. It's a very bad Alec Guinness impersonation. I apologise. Now, from memory, I'd never seen a Jedi use the Force to hold back a whole heap of water, but it was a cool application of the powers. Though, how the hell did he outrun that gushing water? Because that stuff would have been travelling at a million miles an hour. And, he only just made it. And I didn't see any blur behind Obi-Wan suggesting he was using his Jedi speed. Anyway, moving on. So that was a little dodgy. And speaking of dodgy, the Empire really needs to invest in some blaster-proof glass. I mean, if you're going to have the infamously inaccurate stormtroopers just pew 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 all over this facility, then invest in some blaster-proof glass. It's underwater, it's an underwater facility, and yeah, that was just a really bad oversight there. They need to get some new construction contractors in. Now, I thought it was pretty creepy. When Obi-Wan was walking down that hall with all those bodies in some sort of liquid. I mean, I assume that they were Jedi that were captured by the Empire. Now, is that frozen carbonite that they're in, like Han Solo was? Is the Empire doing experiments on them? I'm assuming that they're Jedi. Now, makes me think, do they then kidnap other children, reprogram them to be on the dark side, then genetically modify them with the DNA that they've got from these Jedi and turn them into Force-sensitive people who they can control? I don't know. That might be a bit out there and dark for Disney, but definitely what it suggests is hella creepy. Now, we've got to talk about how Obi-Wan, Tala, and Leia escape, because it's just ridiculous. Obi-Wan just hides Leia under his trench coat. And what's more, she pokes her head out at what could have been a really bad time, and I mean, even with all the chaos going on at Fortress Inquisitorius at the time, I think it still stretched believability that no one would notice this massive bulge out the side of Obi-Wan's trench coat. It reminded me of the third Austin Powers film, Goldmember, where Austin is standing on Mini-Me's shoulder, and they're wearing that massive trench coat, looking ridiculous, and sort of walking around like that. And it's as awkward as Obi-Wan is walking around here. So that made me really chuckle in a bad way. And so they almost get caught, but they get away thanks to a last-minute intervention by the other rebels. Rest in peace, Wade. And that little save at the end was cool to see, but the whole episode made me ask what the point of it was. And that's not a good thing. I said the pacing of the episode was the best of the series, and I mean that. And by that, I mean that there weren't any scenes that dragged on way longer than they should have. But there still were scenes or potential subplots which were rushed through and not properly explored, like Reva's backstory continues to be, or Obi-Wan investigating what those Jedi in the vessels were doing. I mean, it just seemed to have an impact on him in the scene while he was in the hallway. There were no afterthoughts that he had about it. And it's just a really weird show to watch week by week, because at times it seems very, very choppy and rushed, and on the other hand, there are these really cool individual moments. And though I think the third episode is the best of the series, I think the best experience I've had watching this show was the first week when episodes 1 and 2 aired back to back. I don't think any single episode in this series is strong enough on its own to warrant this weekly release schedule. And I hope that by the end of episode 6, I'm interested enough to go back and watch all 6 episodes again in one block. But I mean, a TV show should not be made with the hope that audiences will end up doing that. So we'll see where these last 2 episodes take us. There's Reva's tracking device on Obi-Wan, Tala, on the ship with Obi-Wan, Tala, Leia, and their rescuer. I can't remember her name, sorry. So we might have a showdown between Reva and Obi-Wan in episode 5, leading to the big showpiece showdown between Obi-Wan and Vader in episode 6. We'll see what happens. I haven't lost all hope that this show can stick its landing, but boy oh boy, they are testing my patience. So that's my spoiler review of Obi-Wan Episode 4. Thanks very much for continuing to come along with me on this journey. I hope you're enjoying these review episodes as much as I'm enjoying making them. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel for more content, and we will see each other again very soon. Thanks very much. Bye.